Hey look, the rat is coming! Not only dirty insults fly at me, but sometimes it's pens, eggs, or tomatoes. There's no worse place than school in my world. Do you know what bullying is? Simply put, it's school bullying. Do you think you've been through it? Well, it's all a bit more complicated and unbearable if you're a teacher. Like me. Yes, hello everyone, my name is Lola, and I suffer from bullying at school. It's the worst nightmare I've had to go through at this age, but I can't just quit and leave because in that case, I'll lose my mortgage and I'll lose my home. It seemed like almost every student hated me. I had no idea it was going to be this hard. I came to the juvenile detention center once again. They wouldn't let me in, but I left some things and food for my former student, Oliver. Why was he there? He ended up there because of me a few months ago. His parents don't allow me to see him, and this is the only way I can think of to atone for my guilt. When I left there, I met a new student at the exit, Pam. I was surprised to meet her in such a place, but she said she'd come to see her sister who works there. I offered to give her a ride home. Do you visit someone in prison? Yes, one person. They say it's a student at school. Well, rumors have reached you. It's hard for me to talk about it. He's here because of me. It's true, and not a day goes by that I don't regret it. He's still so young. Everything will be fine. I believe you're not guilty. Thank you for your kindness. Many don't think so highly of me. On the way home in the evening, we stopped by the school for my errands, and when we came out of the parking lot, I noticed my tires were punctured. Approaching the car closer, several guys came out from around the corner. My body was paralyzed, and I couldn't move. They weren't my students. They were the very same guys who brought Oliver and me to the bottom. Their leader, Derek, said he wanted to settle a score with me. My knees shook. I remembered that terrible evening that changed my fate. Oliver got involved with these guys. It's unclear why, but they grabbed him and took him to a dark alley. I happened to be driving by on some errands and saw them, so I stopped and followed. The guys were holding my student, and Derek was punching Oliver in the stomach. Of course, I intervened and stood up for him, but I didn't think it would turn out like this. These guys took all my valuables, and I begged for them to let us go. Derek swung again and hit me this time. Oliver pushed him, breaking free from their grasp. The blow hit me in the head, and I must have lost consciousness. When I came to, I was lying on the ground and managed to press the emergency button on my phone for the police to come. Derek approached me, wanting to kick me, but Oliver, barely standing on his feet, stood up for me and hit Derek again. At that moment, cops arrived and arrested my student. All my attempts to clarify the situation were unsuccessful. Rumors spread at school that it was all because of me. If I hadn't interfered, Oliver would have been released or escaped. And there I was, someone he couldn't leave behind. After the chilling memories flooded back, I mechanically closed myself off from Pam and said to myself that I couldn't allow her to suffer too. Derek and his gang surrounded us, and I threw my purse and begged for them to just let the girl go. But Derek smiled and pulled out a small packet of something white. Last time I gave drugs to Oliver, and now it's your turn, teacher. You interfered with my plan, and I won't forgive that. So that's what you did to get him locked up. You should be the one behind bars. Well, I came up with a good plan, didn't I? He wouldn't have gotten anything for assault, but drugs will get him time. And you and your student will be going there too. If you hadn't regained consciousness and called the cops, nothing would have happened. I had to bother my father for this, and you'll pay. He approached closer, swung, and I stood, shielding Pam with my body. But suddenly I felt someone push me. Opening my eyes, I saw Pam hit Derek with all her strength over the head with her backpack. When his friends ran towards us, she quickly pulled out her phone and showed that she was streaming live on TikTok. And now everyone knew what had happened to her brother a few months ago and who had framed him by planting drugs. Everyone heard it, and the cops are on their way. Thanks for your big mouth, Derek, Pam said. I was shocked, of course, but it turned out that this girl had been conducting her own investigation all this time. She decided to get closer to me because she knew that I was walking bait, and even transferred to my school for that purpose. Well, Oliver is released now, and Derek has been charged, as well as his father. And my reputation at school has been restored. No! Untie me! Who are you and what do you need? I screamed like crazy when they tied me up and put a bandage over my eyes, putting me in the car. They got me. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarnay. There were rumors about kidnapping in our city. Do you know what it is? People kidnap children and demand a ransom. I didn't really consider it until my classmate was kidnapped by the so-called mafia. After that, I developed a fear of stalking, but the worst was yet to come. My father forbade me to communicate any way with my mother. He accused her of leaving us. Since Dad often worked, I studied, so I was alone almost all the time. My grandmother was old, but she sat at home and did the household chores. After the incident with my classmate, Gerald, I was able to calm down only after a month. She was very frightened, but she said she wasn't harmed. The only thing she lost was a scarf I'd knitted for her. Her name was sewn in with beautiful red threads. Knitting was my hobby. I learned it from my grandmother after my mother left us. That day, I walked home with a gift for my grandmother. I wanted to hurry home to celebrate the new year. Dad, as usual, was hanging out at work, but I wanted to get home quickly to eat something warm and taste Grandma's cooking. However, I never made it home that day. All month, I'd felt like someone was following me. Kidnappers took only children from wealthy families. Somewhere in my subconscious, I understood that I was at risk, but I didn't think it would happen like this. I was abducted right in front of my house. They did it so quickly and smoothly. Pros is what they say. I didn't even have time to understand anything as I ended up in their car and they put me to sleep. A familiar voice brought me to my senses, and I didn't expect to see that person at all. "Mom?" I asked in surprise. Mom cried, hugged me, and asked for forgiveness, saying she went to extreme measures. She said that all these years, my father didn't let her near me. As proof, she showed me hundreds of sent emails online, photos of her cards, and birthday gifts. I couldn't believe my father would do this to me. He kicked me out of the house and forbade me to see you. He said that if I disobeyed, he would take you to a place where I could never find you. I couldn't wait any longer. I missed you so much. Something inside me clenched at that moment. I was so happy, and I felt something hurt deep inside. Of course, after such a statement, I decided to stay with her, turned off my phone, filled with resentment toward my father. We spent some cool days together in a tiny room. Sometimes my mother went away on business, and I was usually under the care of her assistant, as she called him. Everything was going fine until I asked where we were going next. Mom was confused, and then she said that she was now considering a new plan. I asked her to give me the phone so I could call my father and say that everything was okay with me, but my mother reacted strongly. She said that this should not be done because he got what he deserved. But there's also Granny. What if she gets worried? What about her? They will wait. I waited, and they will too. Wait for what? Oh, it's nothing. You go change. I bought you some new things. Here you are. There's a dressing room. Then let's go get something to eat. I went to another room, and while changing clothes, I noticed something very familiar amongst the things. I took it in with trembling hands and looked at it. My heart almost jumped out of my chest when I saw the red threads with the inscription, Gerald. Mom suddenly came in then. Mom, what is this? Yeah, I just found it on the street. Pretty, right? Yeah, very. My anxiety grew. After dinner, I clutched my stomach, pretending I was ill. Mom was a bit scared, and her assistant said that an ambulance should be called. While they argued whether or not it was worth it, I managed to get her assistant's phone and call my father, hiding it in my jeans pocket. Mom, are we out of town? Call an ambulance, I'm sick. I knew full well that Dad would trace the call. He's probably among a bunch of agents right now. But my mother saw the phone, took it away, and turned it off. Oh, you dumbass, she shouted, and then I ran to the side door. They locked me up, but I managed to jump out through the kitchen window. I ran in the middle of the snowy field without a jacket. I was so scared and so cold. The thought that my mother was a kidnapper was terrifying. Then my mother's assistant caught up with me when I slipped on the road and fell over. Then my mom came up and spoke in a different way. Daughter, I love you. I'm sorry, I just got confused. Come with me. I'll do anything. But at that moment, several cars pulled up. My father came out, gun in hand, and pointed it at my mother, who was already using me as a human shield. I couldn't believe it. And then everything happened so fast. I bit her hand and then I ran away. A shot rang out. My mom's assistant covered her and the bullet hit his shoulder and Mom managed to escape. Now a search for her is underway. She was planning to take everything from my father, everything he had. She didn't even need me at all. She is a criminal, nothing more. The bitter truth upset me, but it's a miracle that no one else was hurt.